Merhabalar, canlar. Gamesdepot kanalına hoş geldiniz. Bu videoda God of War Ragnarök Valhalla'nın gizli bir sonu olduğunu öğrendik. Bir tane videomun altına geldi. O yüzden ben de şimdi tekrardan oynayacağım kaldığım yerden. Ama bu videoda böyle bir şey yapacağız. Hani savaştığım noktaları değil de aralardaki konuşmaları alacağım. Aradaki konuşmaları izleyeceksiniz. Böylece ne diyalog geçmiş, konu oyundaki o final animasyonundan sonra nereye gitmiş bunu göreceğiz hep birlikte. Bu video böyle bir video olacak ve gizli sonunda içerecek. Hep birlikte öğreneceğiz. O zaman başlıyorum.
I'm not sure what happened there. I'm confident it's not going to happen again.
Learning is a lifelong journey, no mere destination. Take that to heart.
Ne konuşmalar
Good to see
geç.
you getting right back in there after what just happened. Don't let it shake you.
Milady, how is Alfheim these days? Does the peace hold?
It's tenuous, but holding. Endless war tends to breed quite a bit of mistrust. Thankfully, the elves, Bela and Bigvir, are in positions of influence due to their association with Freyr and involvement in Ragnarok. It's the best chance at lasting peace the realm has ever had.
What about the findings in the consul's journal? Have they shared it with the rest of the elves?
Not yet, but give them time.
Konuşma geçiyor çünkü.
Welcome back, my friends. Any questions as you go?
I've one. We were told only those who had died could enter Valhalla. But I don't ever recall hearing when you died.
A bit of a technicality, to be honest. It involved a workaround to regain the arm Garm bit off. Really only glancingly involved the underworld, but Valhalla seems to count it, I suppose.
Kratos, about this boat captain. If you needed his key to save others, why does it seem to bother you so? Your actions in this case seem justified.
The captain was swallowed by the Hydra before I was able to kill it. When I entered its maw to retrieve
Aynen.
the key, the captain had
Olay
somehow
tamamen öyle
survived,
olmuştu.
dangling over a fall that would surely kill him. I saw the terror in his eyes as he tossed to the gone, and in relief when he believed I would save him.
Kurtarabilirdi.
I took the key and dropped him to his death. And it was all for nothing. The women were dead by the time I reached them.
Valhalla demands the willingness to embrace discomfort.
Shield maiden.
A gift. Celebrate each accomplishment. Back to my story.
I will hear.
So, there I was, Little Miss Brawl Magnet. If I wasn't starting the fight, I was the first one charging in to join it. Maybe it's something in the Asgard water, but it seemed like there was always a fight to be had. I guess I needed the rush, something to keep me sharp, feeling alive. I was driven without fear or frankly much sense to hold me back. Got myself a bit of a reputation, and that ended up being a problem. This notorious bully I'd humiliated held on to a grudge and tried to track me down. Found out way too easily who I was and where I lived. Set out to teach me a lesson. We'll pick it up there when you progress further.
Arkadaş ilerlemeden de konuşma olmuyor ya.
Sigrun, love, what's the latest on Midgard?
Life returns at last. After the Hellwalker desolation was followed by Fimbulwinter, I wondered if people would ever come out of hiding, or if there were any left to. But flowers bloom, the sun shines, and it's safe to travel the roads and rivers again. No one even seems to mind the giant serpent sunning himself across the
Allah Allah.
mountains.
Devlandan bile rahatsız
Glad to
olmuyorlar
hear
diyor.
it. Jormungandr's a big softie when you get to know him.
And now that things aren't quite
Tabii çok
so
muhabbet
desperate,
eder ya.
raider attacks have declined. It's progress.
Hadi bakalım.
A
Oha.
flute? Oh, will you play a song, brother?
Valhalla geçmişimden bir nesne daha aldı. Kızımın flütünü çıkardı. Manası manevi değerinden çok daha derin. Yeni şeyler çıkıyor.
These are my daughters, but I will tell you of it later.
Before you ask, yes, I was back in my old forest again. And this time I encountered my former boss, King Oberon. Rather eye-opening. I used to be a true believer for him. Would have done anything he asked. But now I see through all that charisma and feigned wisdom down to the small, hypocritical tyrant I know him to be. Wait till I tell you what he put me up to regarding a particular magical flower.
You wish to tell a story of your first master.
Aye. Seems to be the very story Valhalla has me reliving, in fact. Oberon fancied himself a romantic, you see. Always claimed that love was more important to him than anything. One time, he led his entire entourage on a journey to attend the wedding of some duke or other, near your old neck of the woods. The groom, this lordly prick, had conquered a warrior queen and was marrying her as part of terms for peace. And this somehow was so romantic to Oberon that he dragged us across the sea to pay respects. Never mind, he was quarrelling with his own queen the entire way. Well, I'll have more of that one, to be sure. As I was saying about my old master and his lofty so-called romantic ideals, we'd settled in a forest outside of Athens. A place well situated to observing the comings and goings of the Duke's other guests. There we observe the romantic complications of some local use. And Oberon gets it into his head to intervene. Bids me fetch him a magical flower that can manipulate the affections of others. Supposedly, the idea was to nobly help true love prevail over the pressure of family arrangements. But what he really wanted was to use the flower to torment his own wife.
I see why you left his service.
Aye.
Well done, General.
Shield Maiden.
Please accept this. To be adaptable is to master the unexpected. Would you care to hear more of my story?
Proceed.
If you remember, I had shunned my father's herbal medicine after it failed to save him. I left my village and moved to the city.
Var evet.
I scraped and
Normal oyunda
scrounged,
çıkıyormuş.
managed to survive, and became an apprentice to a renowned mage healer. I soaked up everything I could from her, and I was a natural, it turns out. Shedding my father's legacy came easy. In fact, I'd acquired quite the distaste for it. I cut herbal medicine out of my life completely. It was this rigidness that would prove the biggest mistake of my life. But I'll stop there for now.
What is the state of Svartalfheim?
It's been tough. The dwarves had been under Odin's thumb for so long. Now they're having to completely reshape their economy to provide for
Bunlar
themselves
dünyalar
again.
hakkında bilgi veriyor.
Many are looking to Derlin and other outcast members of the old resistance for guidance. But thus far, he's refusing the call. The wounds are deep and will take time to heal. Once they do, Freya thinks Derlin would be a welcome addition to the council.
Yine mi flüt?
Calliope's flute again. Still on your mind, brother?
Yes. I will explain later.
While I'd love to say I left Oberon's service as a matter of principle, the truth is it was much more a question of pride. If he'd simply shown me more appreciation, who knows how long I might have tolerated his evils. I certainly tolerated plenty from my subsequent employers before I could take no more. If I'm being honest, I was only too happy to offer my complicity in Queen Titania's humiliation.
What did you do?
I caused her to fall in love with something preposterous. An actor.
Kratos, you mentioned a half-brother. Hercules.
Herkül.
He too was a son of Zeus. More like me than I care to admit. A powerful warrior, yes, but driven by an uncontrollable rage. He was jealous of me, thought I was Zeus's favorite. So, when the gods tasked him with 12 labors, he gave himself a 13th, killing me.
Instead, you took his life. Do you regret it?
No, He was dangerous. He wanted to be God of War for every reason but the right one.
Good. Credit to you for knowing the difference.
Mimir, the day my family died was not the last time I saw Calliope. I had journeyed to the underworld to rescue Helios. When I arrived, I heard Calliope's song on the wind and found her in the fields of Elysium. It had been long since I felt such joy. But it was another trick of the gods.
It wasn't her.
Worse. It was. The goddess of the underworld wished to destroy all of creation, Elysium included. She knew that for me to stand against her meant leaving Calliope behind forever. So, I pushed my daughter away again, all while she cried and begged me not to.
The resilient warrior dances with change, easily adjusting to its rhythm.
Shield maiden.
This boon is yours. Seems like every obstacle is just a stepping stone to you. Ready for more story?
I am listening.
So, the bully with a grudge. He comes to the inn in the dead of night, chucks a bottle of fire through the window, sets the whole place ablaze. The coward thought I was inside in bed, but luckily I was just getting home. I saw the flames shoot up
Aynen.
and surround where my father was sleeping. Well,
Üç
this
saat- üç
wasn't
saat
gonna be
15
the
dakika
day I
olmuş.
started hesitating. I charged into the fire and dragged him out. Not unscathed exactly, either of us, but alive. And if I was too angry and fearless for my own good before, now, well, I charged right into that bastard's lair, me against his whole gang. Honestly, I had no business coming out of that alive. As it turned out, I came out of there with a job. But we'll get to that next.
Sigrun, I wanted to tell you, Valhalla keeps sweeping me away to my own adventure in memory.
I wondered if it would. That's wonderful. What is it showing you?
Some particular events of my wayward youth. But they're in a loop of sorts. Not sure I've quite gleaned what it all amounts to.
Then you must do what you do in Valhalla. Keep going.
Gene flüt.
Calliope's flute.
Whenever you're ready, take your time.
Sigrun has been important to you for as long
Uh-huh.
as I have known you. What happened in the beginning?
Ha anlatıyor.
Oh, it's a typical enough story. A boy meets girl, girl fulfills her ambition to transcend the physical plane and become a Valkyrie of Valhalla. One day, Sigrun quietly arrived from Fjotorlund and began serving as Freya's handmaiden while she undertook training for the sisterhood. I don't even think we were introduced. I just see her around the court. Of course, I observed her loveliness and impressive stature, but long before we fell to talking. But we seemed cut from different cloth, I suppose. Never occurred to me we'd get along as well as we did.
You and Sigrun. How was it you first spoke?
Bak.
Back when Freya was queen in Asgard, the better times, I mean, there really began to be some culture around the place. Poets, musicians, the odd contortionist would pay visits, perform, mingle. On one occasion, I'd taken a seat expecting to see this balladeer of the lowlands, when Sigrun walked in. Somehow more stunning than I'd ever seen her. And when of all places she chose to sit next to me, well, a lot of very interesting things happened very quickly. But I may need to collect my thoughts while you get us killed again. Rather, a choice you were given, to stay in Elysium with your daughter only to perish?
Ha kızdı.
Sounds like no choice at all.
Of course it was a choice. One I wished many times I'd made differently.
How so?
When I left Greece, Calliope was never far from my mind. I do not know how much time we would have had together in Elysium, but I would have traded the decades that followed for mere hours with her. It took meeting Faye for that feeling to go away, along with Calliope's song. But I do still think of her in Elysium, and hope she found peace.
Aa değişti bak yerdeki.
You found the pendant of a necklace. Fancy.
Valhalla'da gözüken geçmişimden bir nesne daha. Bir zamanlar ilk karama verdiğim kolyenin ucunda asılı duran süs.
I will tell you the pendant story soon. Let us get back to your memories of Sigrun.
Aha.
She sat beside you.
Yes, she chose to sit next to me. No big thing, really. Yet, somehow, despite myself, I felt a rush in my stomach like I was a green lad again. Embarrassing at the end of the day. Simple. I made some remark and I learned how it felt to make her laugh. And suddenly I felt more at ease. Almost eerily so. A calm within each other's storms, I suppose.
They had a way of describing that. Peace dwells among us.
Lovely, brother. That's exactly right.
Dizgin.
The pendant you found, brother. Do you recognize it? Does it have some significance?
Yes. It belonged to my wife.
It was fate.
No. My first wife, Lysandra.
Ah, I see. You know, brother, you've told me a great deal about your daughter, Calliope. But her mother is a bit of a mystery.
My thoughts on her are complicated. But she was a good woman, and I loved her more than she knew. She saw in me possibilities I could not at the time.
Sorry, brother, but maybe we reserve our talks for safe spaces.
Hayda.
Agreed.
Lysandra's pendant.
I have more to say, but not now.
Your first wife, Lysandra, you said she saw possibilities in you that you didn't.
She suggested I did not have to be who I had chosen to be. That the carnage and suffering I inflicted on those my army conquered was a choice. That there was another way. I refused to see it then, thinking it was my duty to annihilate all that stood in the way of the Spartan Empire. I believed leaving foes alive simply invited potential uprisings later, that enemies could never be turned to friends. I was wrong. Guna.
Excellent. Seems like every obstacle is just a stepping stone to you. Ready for a little more of my life story?
Tabii tabii, hayatı kendi dinleriz kardeşim.
I am listening.
I was in the fight of my life with the thugs who burned down my father's inn. Suddenly there's this sound, this flapping of feathers, and who should appear but Sigrun herself. Not yet queen, but by reputation, the best fighter the Valkyries had in memory. I was awestruck. She was confused. The violence, the mayhem she sensed, she expected to follow to a battlefield full of honored dead, not a hideout in the slums. I apologized to her for not sending worthier souls to Valhalla, and Sigrun offered to take me under her very impressive wing. But we'll cover that part next time, all right?
Lysandra's pendant
Kolye
again.
üçüncüsü.
I suspect your story isn't complete.
Yes.
I know. Later.
Direkt boss'a gideceğim ya.
Your relationship with Sigrun. Why so reluctant to tell her how you felt?
She was on the Valkyrie's path, preparing to transcend her corporeal form. That was her focus, her chosen purpose, and I didn't want to suggest myself as an obstacle. I suppose I let some part of myself imagine she might recognize my affection, even reciprocate it. But now that we know what she was running from, obviously she'd never again risk choosing love over duty. A unique, heartfelt friendship, that is what could endure, and that is what I chose to embrace. Lysandra was clearly important to you. Why did you say your feelings for her were complicated?
Kolye anlatıyor.
Because she was a good wife, and I was not a good husband. I refused to listen, to heed her advice. I commanded armies, had responsibilities to them I thought greater than those to her. But that was hubris, an ambition. The truth is, it never even crossed my mind to consider her advice or needs. So, when I think of her, I can only see my failures. She deserved better from me. And that was long before my oath to Ares led to...
All that was to follow. I understand, brother.
Mimir, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Has my voice broken through?
Bak.
Sigrun? Yes! Hello! How are you talking to... How long have you been able
I
to
haven't
hear?
been listening to you. There's just something I needed to tell you. Valhalla is displeased with me.
It wishes a penance of sorts. Trials to reforge my loyalty. I haven't decided what to do, but I hoped we could talk about it.
Aye, let's do. Next time we die, or Kratos gets a headache. The more
2-3
that
tane
Valhalla
mabet
makes
şeyi
me
var
revisit
kapalı.
my misadventures with Oberon, the more like a dream it all seems. Which is ironic. Back then in my youth, I could hardly bear to sleep. Then, with time, I came to value a proper night's rest. In captivity, it was nearly the only escape I knew. And then the need to sleep went away completely. And I don't miss the time lost, but damn it, brother, I do miss dreaming. The mind comes to terms with itself in ways only possible with your waking judgment out of the way. Our hidden desires, our anxieties, like a Bifrost window to what's going on in your soul.
And Valhalla does the same.
Aye. And I don't think I realized how much I needed it.
Air.
This is for you. A mind that can adapt thrives amid chaos, finding order within the storm. I'll tell you the next part of my story now.
Bak hikayemin geri
If you'll
kalanını
listen.
anlatacağım diyor. Tamam.
Continue.
Last thing I told you was that I'd become an apprentice to a mage healer of renown.
Doğru.
I learned much from her, not just about the healing arts, but about how to live a complete life, a whole life, true to yourself. She was like a mother to me, which made it all the more painful when she too fell ill. It was the same illness that had taken my father. But this time would be different. It was my chance to apply everything she taught me to try and save her. Anyway, I think that's a good place to pause my story.
Hayda.
We made it even further that time.
Sigrun, what's this about Valhalla questioning your loyalty? I thought everything was all right.
It is. For you are alive. And I am no longer in pain. But my
Kurtardı Mimir'i.
transgression was not without consequences. Valhalla has penalized me.
Allah Allah.
I could not enter now if I wanted to. In fact, I am not sure if it
Aa,
will
Valhalla'ya
welcome
giremiyor
me from death.
artık.
What? That can't be right. No one's more worthy of Valhalla than you. You can't have sacrificed that for my sake. It's not fair.
Aşkısın
There's
oğlum
no
sen.
blame
Aa.
to place here. When you do what you know is right in your heart, the results are not always what you hope for. That doesn't mean it was the wrong decision. Now please, we've kept Kratos long enough from his journey. I insist. Go. We'll talk more. Mimir, I had a thought. What you said to me, that you didn't think you could give me what I needed.
Aye.
I've been trying to figure out why you'd say such a thing. I know you don't say things without a reason, even if you don't know what it is at first. But I think I figured it out. It's not that there is anything lacking in you. It's that in the end, nobody can give me everything I need to be happy. Not even Valhalla. That's something I have to give myself. And to do that,
You need to find yourself. It's true. And we're saying that's what I meant all along? Well, clever, huh?
Shield Maiden.
please accept this. You're truly an inspiration, General. Shall I continue my story?
Et bakalım.
You may speak.
Sigrun, mightiest of the Valkyries, saw me in action and thought I had potential. Wanted to train me in the ways of the sisterhood. But I wasn't so sure. A knack for violence is one thing, but serving a higher cause, taking on the responsibility of choosing the slain, me, Gunnar of Blackheart Alley? For once, I hesitated. I couldn't make myself believe it. But Sigrun told me to put everything out of my mind but the work. Mastering each new skill. Discovering what I was truly capable of through discipline and focus. Letting excellence be its own reward really opened my eyes. But we'll wrap it up next time, okay? I'm sure you can see by now, Valhalla has a way of making you learn what you need to learn. Perhaps it does so with me, even now, making such demands so as to give me doubts. Long ago, I gave myself completely to love, and it destroyed my home and family. Then I threw myself into the service of Valhalla and found a new family in my sisters. But what if that's not where my story ends? It's time I finally found my path. Not because it may or may not be Valhalla's will, or Freya's, or yours, my dear, but my own.
Well said, love.
Dear, when you came here long ago, was it for this same decision?
Not exactly. I was already God of War when I began the process. I was having a crisis of sorts. Doubting my abilities, my resolve. Doubting I could live up to the way some saw me. I was thinking of walking away. But then I learned of this place. I knew I owed it to myself, and to the Nine Realms, to take the challenge, to look within, find my truth.
Lucky thing. Without you keeping Odin in check as long as you did, I can only imagine how much worse things might have turned out.
How about we finish up my story?
Aha, ödül vermeye hikaye bitecek. Güzel. Hikaye bitirelim mi dedi. Bitir lan.
Go on.
Last time I was telling you how Sigrun helped me harness my anger and hone my skills. Training with her and my other future sisters, I never felt so challenged. Never felt such belonging. But part of me still couldn't believe I deserved to be there. All that community and purpose and meaning could be mine, if only I could master the one enemy I was afraid to face.
Yourself.
Damn right. I had to stop telling myself the story of all I could never be because of where I came from. When I focused instead on my intentions and my preparation, that's when I truly mastered myself. But I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And it's not as though there weren't more trials ahead, more to overcome and master. My point is, I get why you're doing this. And I truly wish you luck.
Thank you, Gunnar.
Sağ ol canım. Sonunda hikayesi bitti. Çok şükür.
I've come to a decision.
Karara vardım diyor.
At least for the time being, I'm going to step back from the price Valhalla has asked of me.
Aha.
Good for you, Sigrun.
I think maybe it's time I traveled. Experience these realms and the lands beyond, not as Valhalla's emissary, but as a person.
That's perfect. You've always dreamed of a grand sea voyage, seeing the world. Perhaps I could go with you. I've been told I'm a useful guide.
Perhaps. But let's not distract Kratos further.
Burada
I'm
konuşma
having a
oluyor.
bit of a sinking feeling that Sigrun doesn't want me traveling with her.
You knew that before you asked.
Did I, brother?
You know the journey she seeks. It is the one you took, and I took. The kind that brings you to the tests you need. The kind you take alone.
It's true. I gave in to a weakness. Even now, there's some part of me that just wants to tell her how much I love her and beg her to stay. But that's bloody selfish. I need to do better than that.
Aha, Ferhat ödül verecek.
Shield maiden.
Use this. Valhalla knows the efforts you've made. I can continue my story now.
Hikayeme devam edelim. Et bakayım.
Continue.
If you'll remember, my teacher
bu konu-
had fallen ill. Everything she taught me, I poured into trying to save her. But it turned out mage healing wasn't enough. I realized that only a combination of mage healing and herbal traditions could save her. But I'd let my knowledge of the herbal arts fade away. And so, I failed her like I failed him. and she passed into Hell's embrace. It took a long time to get over that. Anyway, I'll stop here for now.
Where could Sigrun be?
Aa,
I was hoping we'd talk further.
gitmiş. O zaman konuşmalı.
Mimir.
Heh.
Sigrun?
About my journey. I need to take some time to understand who I am without wings and helms and missions, and without the lovely man with whom the timing has yet to work out.
Are you sure we couldn't discuss this face to face?
I wasn't sure I could say the words if I had to look at your face.
Just promise you'll let me see you off. I won't have you setting sail without my blessing. Not that you need it.
Of course.
Have you a blessing to offer her?
I'll be combing Valhalla for one.
Mimir,
Burada konuşma oluyor.
you asked of Odin's efforts to conquer Valhalla and the Valkyries with it. But was Valhalla not his creation, along with all of Asgard?
Well, he certainly liked people to think so. And Valhalla served his interests, even if he left the Valkyries to do their work. But in fact, Valhalla and the Order of Valkyries are a force more primordial than any he could hope to bend to his own personal loyalty.
This boon is yours. Your ability to adapt is becoming your greatest weapon. I'd like to finish my story for you
Heh,
now.
hikayesi bitiyor sonunda ya vallahi.
You may speak.
As you recall, I failed my teacher and wasn't able to save her life. I'd let my aversion to my father's traditions stop me from being able to adapt to circumstances. After that, I spent many winters reconstructing his teachings, integrating them into my arsenal. I realized how important it was for me to practice techniques that don't come easy to me, or even ones I have every reason to hate and reject. Because then I'm armed for everything. Then I can adapt to whatever life throws at me. Anyway, that's my story.
Thank you, Heir. I understand.
I understand.
Still no Sigrun. You don't suppose she's avoiding me?
No.
Brother, the last time Valhalla spirited me away to the forest, there was an interesting twist. As the revels ended, I found myself alone, still carrying the magic love flower, and I came upon a sleeping person. But it wasn't the queen, or the foolish youths. It was Sigrun, as I knew her before. I found myself faced with the proposition that with a few drops, I could make her care about nothing in the world so much as me.
What did you do?
I'm pleased to report that I crushed that flower with my bare hands.
I am glad to hear it.
Aa, gelmiş.
You are fighting your way deeper into Valhalla, General. Keep going.
Sigrun, listen. You have choices ahead of you that none but you can make. I'll always be there for you when you need me. And if what you ever need is for me to let you go, then damn it, I'd find a way. But whatever comes, I just want you to put yourself first for once. You're so much more than any office, any title, any function. And I can't wait to see who else you may become.
I'm so relieved you understand. Now that Kratos has found answers to his questions, I believe my service here is done. Arrangements are being made. Please, continue to seek what more you would seek within. I promise, I won't just disappear.
How are you faring, Mimir? I know Sigrun's decision must be difficult. May I ask, deep down, what is it she means to you?
So much of everything good in what I am is only due to my wanting to be the person she saw me as. Take her out of the equation, and I wonder if I'd ever have stopped being a scoundrel in service of scoundrels.
Love can make us wish to improve. I was changed by what Faye saw in me. But losing her did not put an end to who I had become.
Aynen.
Her inspiration remains.
Aye. I suppose being the person they turned us into is a way to keep them with us. Honor the impact they had on us.
Mimir, what you said about love turning you into a better person. I wonder, what What if that better person was within you all along, but you could only see it once it was reflected in another? As though love is the feeling of recognizing the potential in our own soul.
You mean to say falling in love is really only about ourselves?
Not only that, one hopes, but the more we can own the part that is about ourselves, the more we can see others for who they really are, and love them, truly, in whatever form that takes.
Mimir. Kratos. My time to depart draws near. The ways of Valhalla are familiar to you both now. You may continue and return as you desire. I'll wait for you on the beach.
We'll be there, Sigrun.
Sona
All
geliyorum.
right.
Aye,
Vallahi.
brother. I feel a pain in an organ I no longer possess, but the sooner she sets off,
Kıyıda
the
bekliyorum
sooner she
diyor.
may return.
Vallahi kıyıda bekliyorum diyor.
Thank the two of you for keeping an eye on them.
Aha.
And thank you, my queen.
My sister.
Aha geldi, vallahi geldi.
Whether Valkyrie, Shield Maiden, or whatever else you should call yourself in time, I shall always be your sister. Do you hear me?
I hear you.
Aha da ona göre. Aha Mimir'i verdi. Hadi bakayım. Öpüşün koklaşın hadi bakalım.
So this is it then?
For now. For however long.
Good. I mean, I'll miss you more than I can say, but whatever we ever were, or weren't, or might have been if the timing weren't just so... I need you to know that it mattered. All of it. Knowing you helped make me a person I can stand to be. And all I want for you in exchange is... everything.
I can't imagine a world in which I don't end up very close with you, my love. But let me come back to you whole. Let me come back not needing anyone to tell me what I need to be happy.
I can't begrudge you getting to know yourself. After all, it's been one of the great pleasures of my life.
Vay gizli
Farewell,
sona.
Sigrun, and good luck.
Thank you, Kratos. Farewell, my friends.
Gitti.
Fair winds, my love.
Vay be.
Shall we occupy our minds?
Bence bitti.
Aye. Not sure I'll feel like talking much more
Aha
today.
konuşasım yok diyor.
Let's focus on the work.
Bu bölümü izleyen herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çok büyük bir emek verdik arkadaşlar bu bölüm için. Belki 50 kere, belki 60 kere aynı bölümleri tekrar ettik diyaloglar gelsin diye. Siz uğraşmayın, ben uğraştım. Umarım beğenmişsinizdir. Videoyu ilk kez karşılaşıyorsanız ve eğer kanalımı ilk kez izliyorsanız bir like atıp kanalıma abone olursanız çok sevinirim. Emeğe saygı. Canlı yayınımız Twitch'te bu arada. Görüşürüz.